you're still subscribed, because YouTube still wants to unsubscribe people. By the way, you guys are resubscribing in droves. It is unbelievable how many people got unsubscribed and still are having to resubscribe. So this comment came from the ESPN interview that I am talking about. And this actually rolled out of Nneka Ogwumike's mouth. Quote, "The league and teams saying that they're losing money is like saying their pockets are empty, while you're also holding the keys to..."
That comment right there just changed the entire CBA negotiation. Did you catch what WNBA Players Association Vice President Nneka Ogwumike actually said? Quote, "The league and teams saying that they're losing money is like saying their pockets are empty while you're also holding the keys to a brand new Ferrari." That's not a negotiating position. That's an admission that the players want to be paid regardless of whether the WNBA itself makes money. And the implications of that statement are staggering. Because here's what she's actually telling us. The players don't care if the league operates at a loss. They see owners who have wealth from other business ventures, from NBA franchises, from tech investments, and they believe that money should flow to them simply because it exists. Mark Davis owns the Las Vegas Raiders. Joe Rogan made billions from Alibaba, and according to Ogwumike's logic, that personal wealth should subsidize WNBA salaries even if the league itself hemorrhages money every single season.
I saw this comment and just shook my head. I said, you got to be kidding me. And by the way, the players are looking worse and worse and worse. Maybe they ought to quit doing interviews. And then quotes like this won't keep popping out. I mean, honestly, that's crazy. They didn't pay it for with the WNBA proceeds. The league's never turned a profit. I saw this and I just shook my head. I couldn't believe.
Now contrast that with what Caitlin Clark said during the USA basketball training camp at Duke. She called this the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and warned that it's not something that can be messed up. Then she added something crucial. "We need to play basketball. That's what our fans crave. It's important that we find a way to play next season." Clark understands something fundamental that the union leadership apparently doesn't. Without the product on the floor, without fans watching games, there's no revenue stream at all. You can't negotiate for a bigger piece of the pie if the bakery shuts down. But watch how Ogwumike and Napheesa Collier responded to Clark's comments in their joint ESPN interview. They claim to agree with her while simultaneously saying the exact opposite.
Napheesa Collier and Nneka Ogwumike are now channeling Caitlin Clark. Oh, when all else fails and we're not getting enough love, we'll try to pull the Caitlin Clark card. Except, it certainly sounds to me like they disagree with Caitlin Clark. Now, you remember when they put it to a vote, the strike vote, and we found out that there were 3 people out there, 3 players that didn't agree to do it, and we speculated that Caitlin Clark was one of the players, and then her comments came out.
I think we've been very compromising. We're not asking for anything crazy. We've been very respectful, very realistic with what we're asking, and we are compromising. That's Collier's quote from the ESPN piece. But here's the problem with that statement. The players are demanding 30% revenue sharing on gross revenue, not profit. That's not realistic. That's not compromising. That's asking the owners to guarantee massive payouts even if the league loses money, which according to multiple reports, including The Athletic's deep dive last year, the WNBA has done every single season since its founding in 1996. The league reportedly lost $40 million in recent years, and owners quoted in that Athletic piece made it clear they're tired of subsidizing operations. Eventually a line gets drawn. Eventually business owners say enough. And we're watching that line get drawn right now at the negotiating table.
To the strike vote, I may be wrong about that. I don't know. But it certainly seemed to be an opposite approach to the entire situation. So this is Caitlin Clark's quote, right? This is the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and it's not something that can be messed up. We're going to fight for everything we deserve, Clark said during a 3-day USA basketball training camp at Duke. At the same time, we need to play basketball, and that's what our fans crave, and that's what all of you crave as well, is you want the product on the floor. It's important that we find a way to...
So let's talk about what revenue sharing actually means, because I don't think the average fan understands why the NBA and WNBA ownership groups are pushing back so hard on this demand. Revenue sharing on gross income means the players get paid a percentage before you subtract expenses, before you pay for arena costs, travel, coaching salaries, medical staff, marketing, production costs for broadcasts. All of that comes out after the players get their cut. In the NBA, players get 50% of basketball-related income, but that's calculated after certain expenses, and it's based on a league that generates $10 billion annually in revenue. The WNBA's new media rights deal is worth $200 million per year. Sounds impressive until you realize that's split among 12 teams, and it doesn't cover operational costs. 30% of gross revenue in a league that's never turned a profit isn't compromise. It's demanding that owners lose even more money than they already are.
Too high. Well, it doesn't sound like they are really and truly on board with Caitlin Clark's comments. They throw this out to start it, and then it's a bunch of nah. Well, we absolutely agree with Clark. We just feel like the league is not agreeing. I want to know to what extent you agree with Clark. Because it's clear y'all don't agree with her fully. I mean, I think we've been very compromising, like we're not asking for anything.
And here's where the Ferrari comment becomes even more problematic. Ogwumike is essentially arguing that the players deserve to be paid based on the owner's other business successes rather than the WNBA's actual financial performance. Think about what that means as a precedent. If you own a tech company that's wildly profitable and you decide to invest in a startup restaurant that loses money every year, should the restaurant staff demand raises based on your tech company's success? Should they get bonuses funded by your other venture's profits? That's not how business works. That's not how any sustainable enterprise operates, and it reveals something crucial about this negotiation. The players aren't approaching this as partners trying to build a profitable league together. They're approaching it as employees who believe they're entitled to wealth that exists somewhere in the ownership's portfolio, regardless of whether their specific workplace generates that wealth.
Described feeling resistance. No kidding. Because you're asking for things that are unrealistic. I'm sure you are feeling resistance. From the WNBA, that is disappointing and surprising, generating pessimism that a new CBA will be in place anytime soon. I guess won't be in place. Quote, really, do I like the league needs to really pay attention and listen and take notice of exactly what we're coming to the table with time and time again. Because we've been in the room trying to figure out what we can do to get both sides closer. We've been more flexible.
Now let's address the elephant in the room. The WNBA has been subsidized by the NBA for 28 years. That's not speculation. That's confirmed by Adam Silver multiple times in public statements. The NBA has propped up the WNBA through direct financial support, shared infrastructure, marketing resources, and operational expertise. Without that support, the league would have folded decades ago. That's not an insult, that's just economic reality. But here's what's changed. The owners who've been absorbing losses year after year are now being asked to increase those losses significantly through revenue sharing that ignores profitability. And several of them, according to that Athletic report, have privately expressed frustration about continuing to fund a league that shows no path to financial independence. The Golden State Valkyries paid $50 million for an expansion franchise. The ownership groups aren't broke, but they're also not running charities.
Or what if it's just a couple of owners? that actually have teams where people show up. The Valkyries, okay, they sell out. Yeah, the owners probably going to do pretty well. The Indiana Fever doing pretty well. The New York Liberty doing pretty well. Las Vegas Aces, they're doing pretty well, but still, Mark Davis and Tom Brady are down there. The rest of the league is a bunch of Atlanta Dream, Connecticut Sun, a bunch of Dallas Wings that ain't Chicago Sky with Angel Reese can't even sell out their own arena. It's crazy to me. And
look at the attendance and revenue disparities across the league. The Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark sold out games consistently. The New York Liberty had strong attendance. The Las Vegas Aces drew well. The Golden State Valkyries will likely sell out their arena when they start play. But the Atlanta Dream, the Connecticut Sun, the Dallas Wings, the Chicago Sky couldn't sell out their arena even with Angel Reese, the second biggest draw in the league behind Clark. So when players demand league-wide revenue sharing at 30% of gross, they're asking the profitable franchises and their owners to subsidize the unprofitable ones even more than they already do. The teams that actually drive attendance and viewership would be funding guaranteed payouts to players on teams that can't draw fans. How is that sustainable? How does that incentivize building successful franchises in struggling markets?
Here, let's channel Caitlin Clark again to try to get some people to notice us some more. Man, I'm out. I'm telling you. Stop it. I guarantee you there is real disagreement among these players. I brought up in a video I just dropped, when does the infighting start? Because it sounds like it may have already started. Clark she's very smart. She realizes without basketball, without the fans, there's no money for anybody. You got to be realistic. And look, Adam Silver's been just as honest as he could be that the revenue sharing thing was not going to happen. All right? And so my issue is, if the NBA's run the numbers and the WNBA owners have run the numbers and they don't like the numbers, so the players in the league, the owners should just do it anyway just because. I'm sure you are okay with that because that's how the league is still even alive, is because they've just been propping it up just because. And the owners, as we found out in that article last year about them losing $40 million, the owners quoted in that, the owners are pissed. And it was they come out and said they're tired of losing money on this league. Eventually a line was going to be drawn. Eventually a line would be drawn. And it doesn't mean these players have to give up on this stuff forever. But look, let the new media rights deal take shape for several years. And then come back and ask for a reasonable share. Not 30 mother effing that's insane. Unbelievable. And to me, it all should be based on profit. It shouldn't be just gross. That's your way of saying, yeah, we want the money, and we don't care if you lose money or not. Well, owners of businesses generally do care. It's a miracle this league has stayed in business. Tell me what you think. My God. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.
Here's what makes this entire situation so frustrating from a fan perspective. The WNBA just had its best season in history. Caitlin Clark's rookie year drove record viewership, with games averaging over 1 million viewers for the first time ever. The playoff finals peaked at over 3 million viewers. Attendance was up across the board, especially for teams featuring Clark. The league signed that $200 million annual media rights deal with Disney, Amazon, and NBC, momentum was building. And then the players' union decided this was the perfect moment to threaten everything with a potential lockout or strike. The deadline passed at midnight Eastern Time on January 31st without a new collective bargaining agreement. And instead of showing flexibility or acknowledging the delicate moment the league is in, union leadership doubled down with interviews that made them look economically illiterate and entitled. That Ferrari comment is going to haunt this negotiation, because it perfectly encapsulates the disconnect between what the players think they deserve and what the business can actually support. Ogwumike literally said the quiet part out loud. She admitted that the union's position isn't based on the WNBA's financial performance. It's based on the perception that owners have money somewhere, therefore players should get more of it. But sustainable businesses don't operate on that logic. You can't pay employees based on the owner's net worth from unrelated ventures. You pay them based on what the business generates. And if the business loses money, which the WNBA has done every single year of its existence, then demanding massive increases in compensation through revenue sharing becomes absurd. Now, does that mean players shouldn't fight for better conditions? Absolutely not. They should negotiate for higher salaries, better travel accommodations, improved facilities, enhanced marketing support, and a bigger piece of the pie as the league grows. But that growth has to be sustainable. It has to be based on actual revenue generation, not just the owner's willingness to absorb larger losses indefinitely. And here's where Caitlin Clark's perspective becomes so important. She gets it. She understands that the product on the floor is what drives everything else. Fans don't tune in to watch labor negotiations. They don't buy jerseys to support collective bargaining agreements. They want to see basketball. They want to watch elite athletes compete. And if that product disappears because negotiations break down, all the momentum from this historic season evaporates. Think about the timing. The league just proved it can draw mainstream attention with the right stars and storylines. Expansion is happening with the Valkyries joining next season. More media coverage than ever before. Corporate sponsors getting involved, and the union decides this is the moment to play hardball over demands that the financial data simply doesn't support. Adam Silver has been as diplomatic as possible in public statements, but he's also been clear. The revenue-sharing model the players want doesn't work for a league that operates at a loss. The NBA can afford 50-50 splits because it generates massive profits. The WNBA can't afford 30% of gross revenue because there's no profit to share. It's basic math. So what happens now? The CBA expired without a deal. The union has threatened not to play without a new agreement, but here's the reality check. The owners can wait this out longer than the players can. Most WNBA players make the majority of their annual income playing overseas in the off-season. They need the WNBA for exposure and long-term earning potential, but they're not dependent on it for immediate financial survival the way NBA players are. The owners, meanwhile, have been absorbing losses for decades. A season without play hurts them, sure, but it also stops the bleeding financially, and it might reset expectations about what's actually possible in these negotiations. Because right now, the gap between what the union is demanding and what the business can support is enormous. And comments like Ogwumike's Ferrari analogy just make that gap wider, because it tells ownership that the players aren't interested in building a sustainable business model together. They just want more money from wherever they can get it. Financial realities be damned. That's not negotiating. That's demanding, and demands without leverage usually don't end well. The three players who reportedly voted against the strike authorization might have understood this. We speculated that Caitlin Clark was one of them based on her public comments, and nothing we've heard since contradicts that theory. She seems to grasp that this moment is too important to risk, that the league's breakthrough season needs to be followed up with another strong year, not a labor dispute that alienates the new fans who just discovered the WNBA. But the union leadership appears committed to this path. Collier and Ogwumike are doing media interviews framing themselves as reasonable while the league is being stubborn. Except their version of reasonable includes demands that would increase ownership losses significantly. That's not how you build a partnership. That's how you force owners to make hard decisions about whether continuing to fund a perpetually unprofitable venture is worth it. So here's the question every WNBA fan needs to ask. Do you want the players to get everything they're demanding right now, even if it means the league's financial situation becomes even more unsustainable? Or would you rather see gradual increases tied to actual revenue growth, ensuring the league can survive and thrive long-term? Because you can't have both. The math doesn't work. The Ferrari is a nice car, but if you can't afford the gas, insurance and maintenance, you don't get to keep it just because you think you deserve it. The WNBA's owners have the keys to those Ferraris because they built successful businesses elsewhere. The WNBA itself is still trying to afford a reliable used sedan. And until the league figures out how to turn a profit on its own, demanding Ferrari money based on someone else's success is just fantasy economics. That's what makes this negotiation so critical. The players can either work with ownership to build something sustainable, accepting that growth takes time and patience, or they can hold out for demands the business can't support, risking the momentum and goodwill the league just earned. Based on the union leadership's public comments, they seem to be choosing the latter, and that should worry every fan who wants this league to succeed long-term. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are the players being unrealistic, or are the owners not investing enough? Because this debate is far from over.